Coach Rumpf?
He's a great developer. He's obviously he was a first round talent, I believe, right, when he got drafted. I mean, I really wished he would be a little bit better at recruiting, getting some high, more key guys. But I mean, there's a lot of competition with coaches in that position as well. So I mean, we can't discount that. There's a lot of schools that have already ingrained themselves as that position. Like LSU, they call it DBU, and UFO, they got the DBU going on. So when it's ingrained and it's marketed like that, a lot of kids, when they're even in high school, look to hopefully develop their talents in one of these schools. So they always pick up very good talent. Ohio State, obviously, where they have very good, secondary development that goes into the NFL. We just have to do a better job, I think, of marketing. We have to get one good, solid season, some good stats of our corners, and maybe we can turn some of this around and get some of these guys that wouldn't have come here to come here. So.
No, absolutely. And Kay, I want to get some emotional Canes fans talking between the three of us. Like I said, James, you've been a diehard Cane for a long time. Describe last season for you as a Hurricanes fan and someone who's been around Miami, their entire life.
To me, it was devastating. I actually went to the game with Danny Boy Cane, and I remember his face was pretty much summed it up. I mean, he was devastated. He couldn't believe what he was looking at. Everybody in that stadium there, words can't really put it into emotion. I mean, it's just, it was one of the lowest points I've ever been in as a Hurricane fan. We've never seen a loss that bad, I don't think, in our entire lives as Hurricane fans. We weren't around for the FAMU loss back in like 78 or something. So, I mean, this was like BetterDuck said, it was not, I'm going to say program ending. I don't think the Canes aren't going anywhere. We still picked up some good talent even after that loss, but it was a defining moment in Canes history to where like all of us understand now of where the program is. And it was terrible because like all of us knew the cracks in the program. I remember back in September, I tweeted out there's a culture problem here, and I felt it. There's nothing the coaches can do to hide this from me. I see that there's a culture problem here, whether it's the kids not buying in, the kids not putting in 100%, the kids not listening to the coaches. I'm not sure exactly what, but I see it on the field. I'm like, there's something going on here. And it started as the season progressed, and I was able to catch one of the games with Canes Cast. Kev was actually sitting behind me. And I was telling him, man, I'm usually more hyped up than this, man, but there's nothing to be hyped up about this season. And I told him, normally I'm very hyped up when you see me at a game, I'm going crazy, but I just don't have it in me because I understand that there's something culturally wrong here with this Hurricanes team. And until we can really just make major position changes, I don't think it's going to get fixed. So hopefully that we're in the midst of that right now.
No, for sure. And I'm the same way. And you and I were together in Orlando. We were at the event with Michael Irvin, Reggie Wayne, and, we were there, Big Spade and Brad, and we were getting hyped. We went over, met my dad, and, day before, the Florida game, we were going crazy. And then I came back to Florida and went to the Virginia Tech game. And I just remember sitting in the stands like I've never felt like this dead at a Hurricanes game, and just watching them in general. I like when you're down 28-0, just the joy and the thrill of being at the game. It wasn't there, and that's something I haven't experienced. And going back to the culture thing, that's something that I've been very, very vocal about. I've written articles, I've tweeted. There's a total culture problem at the University of Miami, and it's been that way since maybe 05, 06. Do you think how much of that do you put on the players, and how much of that do you put on the coaches?
Well, it starts, and I know it sounds so cliche, but it starts at recruiting. And everyone's saying, oh, of course it starts at recruiting, but it's not just recruiting the stars on paper. Right now there's a running back. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a 5-star, and there's schools that have turned away from him. Sometimes it's not worth the trade-off of bringing in a kid who, he's got the 5-star talent, but is he a 5-star locker room guy? Is he a 5-star guy who's going to step up? We look at so much of when Ed Reed said that he was the guy that used to pick up the towels and make people put the towels in the bins, because it's just the little things like that that really set forth the character of how you're going to come together and do something. And that's when I think you have to find people like that, like, and turn a locker room around from really, and like I said, it sounds so cliche, but it's from the eye and then turn it into a team, But we haven't had a lot of those people in the team leaders step up. And it's one of the things I really admired about DJ Dallas. And we obviously haven't had good seasons. We had one good season with DJ, but DJ was very much of a leader type, and we need more of those type of characters inside the locker room.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you'll touch on some of the same points, but the question that I wanted to ask you was, so say that I make you athletic director or coach or, a board member, whatever it takes, like I give you total control of the program. What are some of the first things you do or some of the first things you address if we're trying to get our school back on the map?
Well, it's 2020. We just came off the worst year. So the first thing I would want to know is how bought in are the kids right now into the program. That is the $1 million question. Coming off of one of the worst seasons in school history, how bought in are you? What is the vision? Do you believe in the vision? What can you do? I mean, I think that these conversations absolutely have to go on between the players and the coaches. What can you do to bring forth that vision? What can you do to expedite the process? What can you do to help any kids that come in here be wowed and feel like they need to be part of this to go forward? Because a lot of the kids that are going on, and I do a lot of edits, and I sometimes do edits for a lot of high school kids and top talent. And a lot of what I'm hearing the rumblings is they want to go to Miami, but they're just not sold on Miami. They're not sold on a school that has the talent that could be so much more, and it's just not it's not getting there. So it's hard to bring in a kid and say you can be the piece that turns this around, blah, 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 when you just haven't done it in the last 2 or 3 classes. Yeah. But so I want to know how committed are the kids right now in that locker room to making the vision come true. So it starts with the kids you have on the deck right now, with the kids you have on the roster now, the kids you have on the practice team, the kids you have on the squad team, and everything else. You ask them how committed they are. So
no, that's a great point. I mean, I always reference back to those those Butch Davis years, like 98, 97, when they were going 5-6. But those players like Ed Reed, Damian Lewis, Al Blades, those are the guys that bought into what he was building. It's hard to preach the new Miami. Everything's going to be so different, and then maybe obviously Manny was a little in over his head, but obviously the players weren't maybe totally bought in. But it sucks though, because you can see it right on the field.
You can, and I tell people this is college football is a show me sport. It's always been a show me sport. Everybody, you're in an environment. College football is an environment where everybody talks a big game. Everybody sounds like Ric Flair. Everybody wants to be hyped, and it's the epitome of hype, college football, but you have to back it up. And how well you do in recruiting, how well is going to ties into how well your season goes. We're not going to get every kid from South Florida because we never have. Some of the best players that came through the school were from Oklahoma, were from California, but we can get the kids that want to be able to make a difference at the U. We need to be able to keep them here and sell them here. Like, you're going to be able to make that difference. So.
No, I mean, and that's why, bro, like, and I'm from South Florida, and everyone is, and rightfully so, South Florida has the most talent, but some of the greatest program changers for this university didn't come from South Florida. Ken Dorsey is not from South Florida. Bernie Kosar is not from South Florida.
Ed Reed's New Orleans, dude.
Yeah, Ed Reed. I mean, like
DJ
Williams. Yeah, exactly. Freaking, I love the the idea of winning the state of Miami in recruiting. Going back to what you were talking about, James, what do you think needs to happen record-wise and other things-wise for Miami to maybe get back into the talk of landing some of these big-time recruits and moving forward?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Despite everything that's happened, I think that we do have the right head coach in place. I know that's not a popular thing to say, and I'm not being a contrarian or anything like that. I do believe that only because Manny is from down here, he understands the culture. And I'm sure he felt just as bad about being one of the worst starts to a head coaching career in Miami than anybody. I mean, this guy has a reputation with the city, through his father, through everything else. So obviously I don't think he envisioned starting his tenure at Miami this way. But we do have somebody that understands the culture and the expectations in Manny Diaz. So I think that that's a very good starting place for getting back to where we need to go. 9-3. I tell people it has to be 9-3, the minimum, because at 9-3, and if those wins are impressive, you can sell the turnaround of a team. You can sell, that. Yes, I understand the season wasn't against the Alabamas and LSU's of the world, but you do see the team coming together. You do see everybody having fun again. You do see everybody winning again and pushing themselves. And now you got more rumblings of more NFL players being brought out of these kids. So that's what I think a good season will do for us. You start getting people with NFL grades. You start getting people with rumblings of what round they might go, and that's what brings back the excitement in college football.
No, and and you and I agree on almost everything. I say 9-3 as well, and so many people are saying, well, that's so unacceptable, and we should be pressing for 11-1, and like when people like us say, we're not at the Alabama or LSU, people get offended, but at a certain point, Canes fans and sports fans in general have to get over their sometimes exactly, and sometimes delusional thoughts that this isn't 2002, this isn't 2003. We can't just trot out there and go 11-2 and go 11-1. Like, this is a process. If we were to go 9-3 and beat Florida State, beat North Carolina, beat Michigan State maybe, that would be, people don't realize how huge going 9-3, potentially 10-4 with a bowl game victory. People don't realize how huge that would be for the program. I mean, just think about Mark Richt's first year when we went. I mean, we started off like 9-4, but we rattled off 5 straight wins, win a bowl game. I mean, we finished 9-4, but there was so much optimism and positivity surrounding the program that it's not going to take it's not going to take a national championship to say, okay, like Miami is like we can finally start talking about the Hurricanes again. This program is actually going on the right track. It's not going to take a national championship for that. And I try and tell people this all the time. And you
have a very unique perspective of the program, being someone your age, because at your age I was a very different type of fan. But I mean, I tell people I'm not here to confirm biases. I'm here to challenge them. Why? Because I think you get a very more of an appreciation of the point of view of where we're at doing that. I understand. I love the Canes. I don't have to be someone that tells people I love the Canes, because my actions every day, I walk out of that house, I dress in Canes gear. I try to invest as much time showing my appreciation by making wallpapers or edits. I love this Canes, bro, and that's my favorite team. But at the same time, no, you can't wrap yourself in delusions. 9-3 is actually very acceptable. It's where we need to be in a season like this. We don't have a complete team that's played together and has that camaraderie yet. So let it build off a season like this. And a season like 10-3 can take us. I don't know what the expectations are opening up against Alabama, but we'll know once this 10-3, a 10-4 or a 9-3 season. We'll know. We'll know off a season like that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that game, just looking forward, I wish that we'd have a little more experienced of a quarterback when we get to that point. I mean, I guess N'Kosi Perry will have another year and could be that.
But that's why it was important for Derek King to lay down the challenge now and make people better around him. That's why we have an entire year and some change to get ready for that game. And we're going to have Derek King around here for at least another, 8-9 months?
Yeah.
So, let him make all the other quarterbacks better. Let the quarterbacks understand the system. It's crazy that we've had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. I mean, that doesn't help either. But like I said, let's hope that this system is the one that resonates best with the players and they can make something out of it heading into Alabama opening games.
Absolutely. And you know what? Before that, just take it one game at a time. Freaking do it the Patriot way, like Bill Belichick always says, just one game at a time. Let me ask you this, James. Who are a few players that you have in mind that you're how do I want to phrase this? That you're expecting the most from, that this is a make or break kind of a year?
Pope. Mark Pope, man. Let me tell you, we have so much hype behind Mark Pope.
I was thinking that, and I'm glad that you said that.
Mark Pope had so much hype behind him in his high school years, and rightfully so. It's not somebody that didn't deserve that hype. But, I mean, I would like to see more production from someone like Pope. It's not all 100% his fault. But very much Mark Pope would have to be one of the people at the top of that list. Absolutely. Zach McLeod is there. He opted to stay an extra year.